Burkina Faso, the rise of Ibrahim Traore, and the fall of democracy in the Sahel. In the heart of West Africa, Burkina Faso, a country already battling decades of instability, finds itself at a critical crossroads yet again. On Friday, the ruling military junta, led by Captain Ibrahim Traore, made headlines by dismissing Prime Minister Apollinaire de Tombela and dissolving the government entirely. The move, announced through a presidential decree obtained by AFP, underscores a volatile political climate and raises questions about the nation's future under military rule. But this latest shake-up is only the tip of the iceberg in a nation gripped by uncertainty, geopolitical shifts, and the reverberations of regional crises. To understand what's unfolding in Burkina Faso today, we need to trace the arcs of power struggles, coups, and the shifting alliances shaping the Sahel. A history of turmoil. Burkina Faso, once known as Upper Volta, gained independence from French colonial rule 1960. Its post-independence history has been marked by a mix of military and civilian governments, punctuated by coups and political turbulence. Despite moments of hope, such as the revolutionary government of Thomas Sankara in the 1980s, the country has struggled with poverty, weak institutions, and deep-seated corruption. The seeds of the current crisis were planted in January 2022, when Col. Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba orchestrated a coup against the democratically elected President Roch-Marc Christian Kabore. Citing Kabore's failure to contain escalating jihadist violence, Damiba promised stability and security, but his reign was short-lived. In September 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore, a younger and more radical figure, led a faction of soldiers to overthrow Damiba. Traore, at just 34 years old, became the world's youngest head of state. Enter Apollinaire de Tombela. In the wake of Traore's rise to power, Apollinaire de Tombela was appointed Prime Minister. A lawyer by training and a political veteran, de Tombela faced an uphill battle, managing a government dominated by military interests while addressing a population frustrated by insecurity and economic hardship. Over the course of 3 successive governments, he juggled multiple reshuffles and mounting criticism. While de Tombela's leadership represented continuity within Traore's junta, the cracks in their alliance became increasingly evident. Rumors of friction between the Prime Minister and military leaders swelled, with critics accusing the government of lacking direction and failing to deliver on promises of stability. Despite this, the abruptness of de Tombela's dismissal comes as a surprise. The decree dissolving the government did not provide an official explanation, leaving analysts to speculate about internal power struggles or a potential shift in the junta's strategy. The rise of Traoré, savior or strongman. Captain Ibrahim Traore's ascent to power is emblematic of a broader trend sweeping the Sahel, where young, disillusioned military officers are taking the reins of their nations. Like their counterparts in Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso's junta leaders have framed themselves as champions of sovereignty, pushing back against perceived Western interference and charting a path of self-reliance. Traore's rhetoric often strikes a populist tone. He has criticized Western powers, particularly France, for their colonial legacy and alleged failures to address the region's security challenges. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso has distanced itself from its former colonial ruler, expelling French troops and diplomats. Instead, the junta has leaned towards Russia, seeking military and logistical support in the fight against jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. This pivot reflects a broader regional trend. In September 2023, Burkina Faso joined forces with Mali and Niger to form the Alliance of Sahel States (EAS), a bloc designed to strengthen cooperation among the 3 military-led governments. The AES is more than just a strategic alliance. It's a bold statement of defiance against Western influence in Africa, signaling a shift toward Russia and other non-Western partners. The security quagmire, central to Traoré's rule and his justification for the coups that brought him to power, is the ongoing battle against jihadist insurgents. Burkina Faso has been one of the hardest-hit countries in the Sahel, with nearly half of its territory outside government control. Thousands have been killed, and more than 2 million people have been displaced. While the junta has ramped up military operations and enlisted local militias to combat the insurgents, the violence persists. Critics argue that the reliance on vigilante groups risks fueling cycles of revenge and exacerbating ethnic tensions. Meanwhile, humanitarian conditions continue to deteriorate, with widespread food insecurity and limited access to basic services in conflict-affected areas. For Traoré, restoring security is not just a matter of governance, it's a battle for legitimacy. But as the situation drags on, skepticism is growing. Many Burkinabé are questioning whether the junta's bold promises of sovereignty and strength are enough to overcome the deep structural challenges facing the nation. A regional domino effect, Burkina Faso's political upheaval cannot be viewed in isolation. The country's trajectory is closely intertwined with developments in neighboring Mali and Niger, where coups have similarly upended democratic governance in recent years. Together, the three nations form a bloc of military-led regimes grappling with the dual challenges of jihadist violence and geopolitical realignment. The formation of the Alliance of Sahel States is a notable development in this context. By aligning with Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso is doubling down on a strategy of regional solidarity against Western pressure. The bloc has also signaled a clear pivot toward Russia, following the lead of Mali, which has forged close ties with the Wagner Group, a Russian paramilitary organization. However, this alignment comes with risks. The AES remains isolated from much of the international community, and its anti-Western stance could exacerbate existing economic and diplomatic challenges. For Burkina Faso, a landlocked country heavily dependent on foreign aid, the consequences of alienating traditional partners like France and the European Union could be severe. The shadow of France's role in the Sahel, has long been a contentious issue. Once the region's dominant power, Paris has seen its influence wane in recent years, driven by rising anti-French sentiments and the failure of its military interventions to stem the tide of jihadist violence. For Traoré and his counterparts in Mali and Niger, criticizing France has become a rallying cry, a way to unite their populations and assert their independence. In Burkina Faso, this anti-French rhetoric has translated into concrete actions. French troops were forced to leave the country in early 2023, and the junta has made it clear that it no longer sees France as a reliable partner. Instead, the focus has shifted to fostering ties with Russia and other non-Western powers. But the break with France is more than just a geopolitical maneuver. It's a reflection of deeper frustrations with the legacy of colonialism and the perceived failures of Western engagement in the region. For many Burkinabé, Traoré's stance against France is a symbol of hope, a sign that their country is finally taking control of its destiny. What lies ahead? The dismissal of Prime Minister Apollinaire Kailam di Tombella and the dissolution of Burkina Faso's government mark a significant turning point in the nation's turbulent journey under military rule. Whether this move signals a recalibration of strategy or a deepening of internal divisions within the junta remains unclear. What is certain, however, is that Burkina Faso's challenges are far from over. As the nation grapples with insecurity, economic hardship, and political instability, its leaders face mounting pressure to deliver results. For Captain Ibrahim Traore, the stakes are higher than ever. Will he emerge as a unifying force capable of steering Burkina Faso towards stability? Or will his rule deepen the fractures in an already fragile state? The answer to this question will not only shape the future of Burkina Faso, but also influence the broader trajectory of the Sahel region at the epicenter of Africa's ongoing struggles with governance, security, and sovereignty. As the world watches, one thing is clear: the story of Burkina Faso is far from over.